involved civic-minded, have a minimum GPA of 3.0, and must be pursuing a post-secondary education. This year, we have come to the decision to award this to a student that has demonstrated all that and more, and someone that I'm very proud that have served on the board with us here as a student representative. So this year's award goes to Christopher Russo. So congratulations. Congrats. And you thought your parents were here just to see you at your last meeting, right? Congratulations. Yeah. I have to sign that later then. Thank you. Congratulations again, Chris. It's been a pleasure having you as part of the board. You've done a great job. Next up, we have a presentation of our Wilson Honors Internship Program. Mr. Sakanic's here, I believe.
Okay, I've been asked to come tonight just to give you a little background about our Honors Internship Program that we have at Wilson. Our program started 3 years ago, and when we started it, our principal came up to me and asked me, I'd like you to lead this and see what you can do with it. Well, the first year we had 17 students involved in the program, and the program is involved with local businesses, taking high school seniors, and most of our kids, it's available to juniors and seniors, but most of our kids are all seniors that are taking it. But the local businesses are taking them in, they're interested in a major, but they have no idea what that job really consists of. So one of our first groups that we had come in that I met with was Reading Hospital. And you would not believe how many kids want to be doctors, nurses. But I tell the kids, there's a lot more in a hospital than just doctors and nurses. So we had kids working for public relations, doing all different things at the hospital. So the first year we had 17 students. Second year we had 23 students. This is our third year in the program. We have 70 students in the program this year. Next year is our fourth year. 130 students signed up for it. So it's my job now to go out and try, to find internships for these kids. Well, I don't know how the word spread to the local community, but we ended up getting more and more businesses actually calling me. Hey, we heard about your internship program. What does it consist of? And we tell them, what we have are you're getting our honors kids. They have to have a 3.0 or higher to get into the program. Now, everybody asks me, well, doesn't that eliminate some of the other kids? Well, we have other programs, internship programs in our school. Our SIA program, which is run by Mary McTish, if you want to get an education and a kid will sign up for an honors internship and they go, well, I want to be a teacher. And I tell them, I go, listen, you're in the wrong program. That's Mary McTish. She runs our SIA program, our student instructional aides. They get to go out to the Wilson, any of the elementary buildings or school and work on being an educator. For a student that wants to go right into the workforce, Kathy Folk runs School to Work, okay? So we do hit all the bases, but the nice thing about the Honors Internship kids are those kids that are taking 4 or 5 AP classes their senior year. And they go, hey, take a little stress off. Why don't you pursue the career that you want to get into and take an internship in that career? Well, when we said we started with 17 businesses, the kids are responsible for finding their own internship. Now, what happens is every year we get new interns that come in and they find their own internship. And I'll ask the person, the supervisor at the end of the year, hey, would you guys be interested in taking another intern next year? Absolutely. So it started to grow. Right now, of that 130 kids that signed up, we've already placed 70 of them for next year in the current internships that we have. The one nice thing is with the internships that are available, anybody's eligible for them. Every kid has to create a resume, turn them in, and the supervisors of the businesses come in and they interview all of our kids. So they go through the practical experience of an interview. So some of those kids, I'll give you a good example, Reading Hospital. That one, we have to narrow it down. We get 30 kids to apply for 4 positions. We narrow it down to 10. So we have our, who do we have? I had Matt Bender. We have teachers on the interviewing committee to go through and interview all 30 kids to narrow it down. And then we send 10 to Reading Hospital for them to interview. So it's a lot of work that's put on by a lot of people. Administration has been behind us 100% with it. So the program for me, I constantly am talking about it. Everybody, whenever we go out and I meet somebody new and I'll tell them, you're in the Berks area, would you be interested in an intern? And I'm always talking about it. But probably one student, Parker, he's become our poster child this year. It seems like everywhere we go, hey, I saw the article in the paper about that kid that works at Quest or at the airport or whatever. Well, that's Parker, okay? Parker's going to talk a little bit about his experience this year.
Thank you, Mr. Zucanic. So for my internship this year, I work at Quest Diagnostics Flight Operations. What Quest does as a company as a whole is they're a lab testing facility. So say you're getting blood work done, you send it to Quest, and then they in turn will send it to a lab to get that test done. They'll send it back to Quest, they'll get the test results back to you. With working with flight operations, it's basically a glorified truck driving position. We fly the specimen samples to each city, which will contain that specific lab for that specific test. When I go there each day, or I try to go there each day, because I love it so much, they basically put me through everything that I need to know about aviation, which is the career that I will be pursuing later on in my life. I'm training to become a pilot. Basically, I'll come in, I'll help load the specimen bags onto the planes, I'll help stack the airplanes into the hangar, I'll help with some of the managerial office stuff, whether that be getting the bag sheets to the pilots or to the advisors of those pilots. But one of the greatest experiences that I've had during this internship program is flying with the pilots on these flight runs. They normally fly at night, so I'll get there around 8 o'clock at night, and we won't get home until around 4 o'clock in the morning, but the whole entire time I am bright-eyed and bushy because I'm sitting in a co-pilot seat with a pilot, flying around all across the country. We go to New York, New Jersey, Kansas City. I mean, it's totally amazing. This past weekend, I completed my final flight with them. I got to fly the plane, which is, I mean, I can't explain how, how incredible that was for me, for someone that is pursuing to become a pilot. And I know not many kids can say that, so I'm extremely grateful for this internship program and for everything that Mr. Zucanic does and everything that the board does to pursue this. And I think it's wonderful that everyone, here at Wilson has the opportunity to pursue the career that they want to and get experience in that. And I can't give, so much thanks, just so much thanks to Mr. Zucanic and the board and everyone. So it's truly amazing. Thank you.
One of the organizations that I serve on the executive board of is the Berks Business Education Coalition. And we are fortunate to have such a robust internship program that other school districts in the county want to know what our secret sauce is in terms of doing what we do with interns. And what I shared with the board was you have to have individuals that are in the trenches that are passionate about what they do. So Mr. Zucanic, that individual is you, and I know that without your diligent work in arranging some of these internships, that our students wouldn't be able to have the experiences they do. There was an article in the paper But there was also an article in the Berks Business Education Coalition annual report. And I have 2 copies of that article in a frame that I want to present you this evening. And I will hold one of them up. And guess who it is? It's Parker standing there in front of the plane that I assume that you flew.
Yes.
And a wonderful write-up about all of the things that the Wilson School District is doing to benefit students in their future. So I'd like to have you come up and take this as a token of all of your hard work. Thank you. And it's the least that I could do. I mean, this is something you can like hang on your wall. And you can brag about it to your friends. And I also have one for you, Mr. Sakanik, because I think hanging this in your office might be a good motivator for all the other students in the high school. So thank you very much for all that you do, and congratulations. And I can honestly say that when I go to those meetings with the other executive board members, some of the businesses in Berks County send their chief executive officers to this meeting. It is a tremendous honor to be able to brag about what we do in Wilson and have other superintendents seek us out to find out again what our secret sauce is. And I'm very honest with them. It has to do with the passion that our employees have for the work they do. So thank you again.
Thank you both. Okay, next up, we have several of our students here that participated in a trip to Japan. They're going to share some thoughts and experiences with us.
Good evening. My name is Cole Shimoleski, and I'm here along with about 15-ish of my peers and some of our chaperones from this trip. First off, we would all like to thank the school board and the high school administration for allowing us to go on trips like these, as they allow students not only to gain valuable experience through education, but also to make friendships that will indeed last much longer than the trip. Speaking of the trip, here are some of the most intriguing educational components. As pictured behind you, or actually in front of you, in the bottom right-hand corner is the Chiba Institute of Technology's showroom floor, and that entailed seeing some of their prototype new technologies, things they've already perfected, and a lot of just really cool stuff like that. They also had this interesting board which was sensitive to whenever you waved or put a certain type of paper down on it, and it would generate a 3D image and it will allow you to get more information about that, and it was pretty cool. And then local architecture and the blend of technology with the past. So, actually in the left middle, that's the board I was talking about. So some of the awesome architecture in the center is there's a lot of shrines and temples, and those are experiences that you can't just replicate with, I don't know, like virtual reality or YouTube videos or something like that. You truly have to be there, and that really relates to the cultural immersion, which I really think was the highlight, well, one of the highlights of this trip. Being in a foreign country where you do not speak the language has its challenges, but it's also quite fun, and it allows you to learn more about yourself and others than you would have normally if everybody just was like you. So it was a really great experience, and while they were all great experiences in their own right, I'd like to highlight the connections that we made with other high schoolers and people, students specifically, while we were on the trip. Those included Riverside High School in Loudoun County, Virginia, where we toured with those people, as well as the Walter H. Diet High School for the Arts in Chicago, Illinois. And of course, we had a student exchange with the Chiba Institute of Technology students, where they took us around Chiba City and Shibuya. And it was a great time, because we got to see what it's like to be a college student in Japan and kind of that whole shtick. The connections that were made on this trip were priceless, and they could lead to possible professional relationships and careers in the future. And Personally, I had a lot of fun, and I believe my peers can attest to this, going around and seeing all the different things that were available to us, and especially the food. The food was amazing. Overall, thank you again for allowing us all to attend this trip, and we hope there will be more opportunities for experiences like this in the future.
I'm David Dunkelberger. I teach tech and engineering here at the high school. Mike Fitzgerald passed this trip down to me, and this is the first opportunity I had to travel internationally with my students. So I wanted to give you just a little perspective of what I got to see throughout the entire 9 days that we were there. It's the first time you get to interact with your students for way more than 8 hours a day. And you can see a continual improvement and change day in and day out. And I know from the chaperone standpoint, just watching the growth that happened from day one to being able to interact in a world environment by day 9, where you can navigate airports, you can navigate subways in countries where you don't know the language. So those are valuable skills that these students are learning, and I hope to continue to receive your support. We're looking to set our next trip up with your support for the 2021 winter school year. So thank you again, and we look forward to our next opportunity.
Congratulations. Just an announcement that the board did meet in executive session prior to tonight's meeting related to a personnel issue. Moving along, looking for a motion to approve the minutes from May 6th, 2019. Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Second. Mr. Ehrlich, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. Martin is not here, so I will do the treasurer's report. We're looking for a motion to approve the treasurer's report, investment report, and general fund financial reports as presented. The general fund investment, treasurer's report, general fund balance sheet, general fund board summary, capital reserve, and the 2017B construction fund. Do I have a motion for those? Mr. Negrini, thank you. Second. Mr. Hart, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case? Yes. Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Mr. Hart? Yes. Mr. Hopp? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini? Yes. Mr. Wolf? Yes. That's 8-4, 0 against.
Moving along to payment of bills, looking for a motion to approve the payment of bills as presented from the general fund, $4,106,871.09, and from the capital reserve, $88,583.51. Do I have a motion for that? Mr. Ehrlich, thank you. Second. Mr. Negrini, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Mr. Hart? Yes. Mr. Hopp? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini? Yes. Mr. Case? Yes. Mr. Wolf? 8-4, 0 against.
Under financial reports, looking for a motion to approve the financial reports for the month of April. It would be the cafeteria, childcare, Southern Middle School, Wilson West Middle School, and the senior high. Do I have a motion for those? Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Mr. Hart, second. Roll call.
Mr. Hart? Yes. Mr. Hopp? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini? Yes. Mr. Case? Yes. Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Mr. Wolf? Yes. 8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Superintendent's report, Dr. Fadley.
Thank you, President Wolf. Tonight I present the superintendent's report, personnel and program recommendations. Before the board votes, I'd like to publicly thank 2 retirees for their service to the district. Candy Strauss Sell, Special Education Instructional Assistant, with 22 years of service to the Wilson School District, and Susan Yeager, Special Ed Instructional Assistant, with 22 years of service to the Wilson School District. I want to wish them well on the next phase of their life.
10. Or is that 611 or 12 now? Yeah, I'm sorry. 6-1 through 6-8 first. So we're looking for a motion for 6-1 through 6-8 first. Mr. Hart, thank you. Mr. Ehrlich, thank you. Roll call on those.
Mr. Hobb?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Motion for 6.10. Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Second. Mr. Case, thank you. Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Hart? I'm sorry, Mr. Hobb?
Yes.
And Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
That's 7-4, 1 abstain.
Items, donation, we're looking for a motion to accept with gratitude from the Mandarin Junior Drum and Bugle Corps, a donation of $3,000 to the Wilson Music Department for the use of the facilities on August 2nd and 3rd, 2019. Do I have a motion for that? Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Second. Dr. Kennedy, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Moving on to HR, looking for a motion to request approval to authorize and appoint Joanne Beard to Controller in the Finance Office, Act 93, at a salary of $106,500 per year, effective 6/3/2019. I have a motion, Mr. Ehrlich. Thank you. Mr. Hart, second. Roll call, please. Yeah, Mr. Ehrlich, yes.
Make a comment on this, just to remind the board, when Christine was appointed to her current position as the Director of Finance, at the time, and to Christine's credit, she was promoted from the Controller position. We held off advertising and hiring a Controller at that time, and for a number of years, looking at different options on how best to structure that department. So really, Christine's been doing double or triple duty, and in further discussions with our auditors, recommendations, felt that it was time to move forward with this position. And I had an opportunity to meet with Joanne. I was very impressed with her. I think it's going to be a huge gain for the Wilson School District. So I just wanted to publicly state, I think Christine did a great job of looking at the department, how to best structure it, and frankly, probably went on longer than it probably should have. And we're at that point where this position is well needed in the district. I just want to kind of refresh everybody's memory on that. I think we're getting somebody really good with Joanne, so welcome her aboard.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we have a first and second, so looking for a roll call, please.
Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Hobb?
Yes.
Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Moving on to pupil services, 9.1, looking for a motion to grant permission to contract with Kids Peace National Center for one special education student for the remainder of the 2018-2019 school year, as presented. 9.2, looking for a motion to approve the summer hours as presented. Apologize, my mouse is not responding well here. There we go. 9.3, motion to grant permission to contract with New Story for 8 special education students for the extended school year as presented. 9.4, looking for a motion to approve to enroll 2 foreign exchange students as presented. 9.5, looking for a motion to grant permission to waive tuition for 2 students as presented under Board Policy 202. And 9.6, looking for a motion to approve doctors, dentists, and game coverage as presented. Do I have a motion for 9.1 through 9.6? Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Mr. Ehrlich, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Negrini? Yes. Mr. Case? Yes. Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Mr. Hart? Yes. Mr. Hopp? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Wolf? Yes. 8 for, 0 against.
Under Operations, 10.1, looking for a motion to grant permission to purchase custodial supplies through the BCIU bid for July 1st, 2019 through April 30th, 2020, as presented. 10.2, looking for a motion to grant permission to purchase classroom and office supplies through the BCIU bid for July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, as presented. Looking for a motion to grant permission to proceed with upgrades to the Telcor systems at Spring Ridge Elementary, Southern Middle School, and Shiloh Elementary at a cost of $31,542 to be paid with the proceeds of the General Obligation Bond Series 2019A as presented. 10.4, motion to grant permission to proceed with upgrades to the Salient with NVR additions at a cost of $62,258 for transportation operations, West Middle School Number 1 and West Middle School Number 2 to be paid with proceeds of the General Obligation Bond Series 2019A. 10.5, looking for a motion to grant permission to proceed with upgrades to the Lenel card access on OnGuard at a cost of $75,000 to be paid with the proceeds of the General Obligation Bond Series 2019A. 10.6, looking for a motion to grant permission to award bid to GSM Roofing located at 345 South Reading Road, Ephrata, for the lower house roof replacement in the amount of $1,821,500 to be paid with the proceeds of the General Obligation Bond Series 2019A. And 10.7, looking for a motion to grant permission to proceed with the installation of kitchen freezer alarms at 8 locations by BSGI at a cost of $18,064 to be paid with the proceeds of the General Obligation Bond Series 2019A. Do I have a motion for 10.1 through 10.7? Mr. Negrini? Second, Mr. Ehrlich. Any discussion?
Just want to note, I didn't understand it either, that the freezers aren't that worried about people stealing food. The alarms will go off
Yeah, if they-
if food starts to melt.
If they thaw, yeah.
In case you were wondering, because I was. You don't want to lose all that.
They're armed with lasers. All right. Roll call, please.
Mr. Case? Yes. Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Mr. Hart? Yes. Mr. Hopp? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini? Yes. Mr. Wolf? Yes. 8 for, 0 against.
Under Finance, 11.1, looking for a motion to approve to award to elementary and secondary art supplies, elementary and secondary music equipment and supplies, and secondary technology supplies bid as presented. 11.2, looking for a motion to approve to advertise and solicit bids for miscellaneous extracurricular supplies, instructional supplies, and instructional equipment. And 11.3, a motion to approve the budget transfers dated April 11th, 2019 through May 15, 2019. Do I have a motion for those three? Mr. Case, thank you. Second. Mr. Ehrlich, thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Mr. Hart? Yes. Mr. Hopp? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini? Yes. Mr. Case? Yes. Mr. Wolf? Yes. 8 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Under Transportation, 12.1, looking for a motion to approve to reject proposal received in response to the RFP for leased school buses and vehicles project as presented. And 12.2, requesting approval to purchase transportation vehicles for the 2019-2020 school year as presented from proceeds from the General Obligation Note Series 2019 A and B. I have a motion for those two. Mr. Negrini, second. Mr. Hart, thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Wolf?
Yep.
We discussed this in Finance Committee. We wanted to vet the opportunity to look at ways to save the district money and the leasing of our bus fleet as opposed to owning it. There was only one proposal submitted to the district, and that would have been at an expense of $1 million over than what we currently budget for. That does not include the cost of mileage that would go over the lease. I think it's $1 a mile, which according to our calculations would cost us in addition to that every year. It would also require of us to sell our fleet, and should we ever find ourselves in a position where the cost of leasing those vehicles would continue to increase, then we would have to outlay that money once again to purchase either a new fleet or look into alternative leasing options, which there doesn't seem to be opportunities for large districts such as ours. It seems to be that leasing bus fleets are conducive to smaller districts. So obviously, the district is always looking for ways to cut costs and to remain fiscally responsible. We did this in an effort to look for possible savings, and apparently that is not worthwhile pursuing. So that's why it's being recommended to reject the leasing proposal.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, we have a first and second, so roll call on 12.1 and 12.2.
Mr. Hart? Yes. Mr. Happ? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf? Yes. 8 for, 0 against.
Under Child Care, 13.1, looking for a motion to approve the cleaning service contract with Home Care Solutions, LLC, for $1,500 per month to clean the Berkshire Heights building from the time period of June 10th, 2019 through August 22nd, 2019, to be paid by Wilson Child Care, no cost to the general fund. I have a motion for 13.1. Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Mr. Hart, second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Happ? Yes. Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8 for, 0 against.
Thank you. Under policies, our committee's still working hard to review these. We now have a final reading and looking for a motion to approve the final reading of policy 247 regarding hazing. Do I have a motion for that? Mr. Case, thank you. Mrs. Cocker, you two were very eager to get this done. Thank you for raising your hands. I know you're doing a lion's share of the work on these. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Happ?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8 for, 0 against.
We then have a second reading of policy 303.1 and policy 309, and then a first reading of policy 319 and policy 323. No vote on any of those. Under miscellaneous, we're looking for a motion to approve to issue an RFP to solicit proposals for vending services, beverage products, subject to solicitor review. I have a motion for that. Mr. Hopp, thank you. Second. Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Roll call, please. Yes.
As Mr. Negrini mentioned with the transportation, the last board meeting I mentioned about transportation as well as the RFP for this. As everybody knows, we have a contract with Pepsi for our products. And again, that contract's been in place for a while, and the finance committee felt it was in the district's best, in our best interest to look at what other options might be available, because the students' needs and what they drink today is frankly far different from when this was first put in place, which is a good thing. Kids aren't drinking as much soda and those types of things, and we wanted to take a look at what other alternatives are there out there, and so that's why this is being done, both from a financial standpoint and also frankly a health standpoint, because clearly the students are eating and drinking healthier, so we wanted to look and see what other proposals might be out there. That's why this is being done.
Thank you. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Negrini? Yes. Mr. Case? Yes. Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Mr. Hart? Yes. Mr. Hopp? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mr. Wolf? Yes. 8-4, 0 against.
Committee reports. Mr. Case, you want to do both the BCTC and the Ed Foundation?
Sure. The BCTC, we have not met since our last board meeting, so I do not have to report, but we do have a meeting this Wednesday, at the West Campus.
Okay. Anything for Ed, the Ed Foundation?
I like going after,
You want me to wait?
is Mrs. Troutman here?
She's not. She is attending.
I'll go. I have a couple of public relations things for the WEF. We have a meeting on Friday as a group, but a couple of things, and all this information's on the website, but I figure I'd just advertise it. Join us this summer for the 2019 registration, which is now open for, there's a WEF Sinking Spring Borough and Wilson School District. It's a summer playground program at 2 locations, one at Brookfield and one at Sinking Spring. So check out that. It's a 9-week program from June 10th to August 9th, led by teachers and recreational professionals. And the playground is an awesome way to make friends and learn new things, play outside, and have a whole bunch of fun. A couple of other things. Wilson Bulldog Summer Blast. There's still time to get into that program. It's a 6-week academic program from June 18th to August 1st for children entering 1st grade through 4th grade for the 2019-2020 school year. And it's taught by Wilson teachers to help diminish the summer slide and offer continued learning opportunities and also have fun, a lot of fun. And then look for, you can get tickets for the 2019 6th annual Wilson Community Night at the Fightin' Phils. I don't want to get anything wrong, so I'm going to read a little bit what Molly wrote. Fall 2019, let's see, market calendars for the 6th annual Wilson Community Fightin' Phils. It's Friday, May 31st. Tickets will be on sale, and they actually are on sale. And information will go out with the Student Bulldog Blitz, so that's already out. Students will be given tickets to be recognized for high achievement that evening, and also we'll be honoring our Wilson 2019 Teachers of the Year as the game's hometown heroes. This year's recipients are Rachel Weidenhammer, she's a 5th grade at Cornwall Terrace, and Allison Spangler, thank you. 6th grade science at Southern Middle School. So these awards are given out by the Sun Federal Credit Union and the WEF. So come out one, come out all. It's a whole bunch of people from Wilson going to be out there. It's going to be a great time. Thanks. As much as I love the WEF, I'm kind of happy to hear about that. One less meeting.
Thank you.
But I do love the WEF.
Oh, yeah. It's good stuff. Dr. Kennedy, you want to do BCIU and curriculum, please?
I did not get to attend the IU meeting last Thursday due to having to divide and conquer dueling lacrosse games in 2 different counties. So, but I did get to go to the IU that afternoon as a representative, as an expert in early childhood education, to a meeting about Head Start. And I'm so continually impressed at that organization, and the hoops that they have to jump through to get a federal grant is really kind of unbelievable. So I got to represent Wilson and talk about how we're getting a Head Start classroom at the Berkshire Heights building, which is really exciting, and talk about how functioning our board is. Apparently that's not the case in all IUs. So again, I'm continually impressed with that organization and glad to be our representative for there. For curriculum, we will be meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. in Dr. Fadley's office.
Thank you.
That's it.
Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlossman, no report, okay. Just not quite the wrap-up for spring sports. We still have some teams participating, but we had an unbelievable spring. 7 out of our 8 teams competed for a county championship. We had the baseball team at 15-7-1, won the county championship on a walk-off single last week. Boys lacrosse won the county championship as well. They're 17-3. Girls lacrosse were a county finalist. Mrs. Troutman is actually there watching her daughter play. Unfortunately, I asked her in exchange to text me, and it does sound like they lost that game tonight. So, softball ended as a county finalist as well, 13-10. Boys tennis is at 3-8. Boys track and field were county champs at 5-0. Girls track and field also county champs at 4-1, and boys volleyball was a county finalist at 10-3. So it was a very successful spring season. Some of our athletes still participating. So I'll wrap that up probably the next meeting we have. Facilities, Mr. Negrini. No report. Thank you. Finance, Mr. Ehrlich.
Our next meeting is June 3rd. As everybody knows, we're working toward our final budget, trying to crunch the numbers and get everything in line. So we will be discussing that at our June 3rd meeting, and then that will be voted on in June by the full board.
Okay, thank you. HR, Mr. Hart. Okay. Mr. Martin's not here, so we'll move to Mr. Hopp for public relations.
Yes, I will read Ms. Troutman's report tonight. First up, good news for our middle schools. The students and staff of Wilson, Southern, and West celebrated being redesignated schools to watch in Pennsylvania and had assemblies this week to celebrate that. They are selected based on their academic excellence, developmental responsiveness, social equity, and organizational structures and processes. In addition, each school must display strong leadership, teachers who work together to improve curriculum and instruction, and a commitment to assessment and accountability to bring about continuous. Be more proud of the students, staff, and administration, and families at Wilson Southern and West. Poet Laureate, culminating a month of community readings in Berks County, Wilson High School senior Devanshi Patel was named the 4th Berks Scholastic Poet Laureate at a ceremony held at the Miller Center for the Arts. We congratulate Devanshi on this remarkable accomplishment. Javius Galan, Teacher of the Year finalist. We're thrilled to announce that Javius Galan was named as finalist for the 2020 Pennsylvania Teacher of the Year. Javius, who is an autistic support teacher at West Middle School, is among 12 finalists who were announced by the Wolf administration. Nominations for the Pennsylvania Teacher of the Year were submitted by students, parents, peers, and members of the community wishing to honor and recognize educator achievements both inside and outside of the classroom. The 2020 Pennsylvania Teacher of the Year will be announced in December of 2019 in Hershey. This is a huge honor for Javius and Wilson, and we wish him the best as he approaches the final round of the Teacher of the Year process. District Public Relations, Thought Exchange. I know we've mentioned this previously, but to reinforce, this past week we launched the new Thought Exchange tool, which was approved by the board a few months ago. This tool will be used to gain insight into the thoughts and ideas of our various stakeholders by providing a platform for people to share their ideas via open-ended questions. The questions we are asking in the first Thought Exchange is, what is the Wilson School District doing well, and what are opportunities for improvement for the benefit of the students? We've had a great response so far, over 700 participants sharing 350 thoughts. In addition, over 11,000 ratings have been assigned to the shared thoughts. These ratings will help us understand the most important areas to focus on as we look forward to the 2019-2020 school year. Participation in the Thought Exchange will be open until May 28th. If you haven't yet participated, you can find the link and instructions on the homepage of the district website. A summary of the results will be shared with everyone in the community. Thank you.
Technology, Mrs. Cocker. Okay. Mr. Russo.
Time for my last trip.
Yeah, your last one.
There's actually 3 parts to this, but we started late, so I'm going to try my best to keep it moving. But so first, I'd like to speak about this upcoming event this Friday, May 24th. The Wilson High School will be holding I think it's the 6th or 5th annual Decision Day. This event acts as an opportunity to celebrate the various future plans of all of our graduating seniors. So we'll have students go on set, take to the stage, addressing the entire student body in the gymnasium. We have students go up to talk about the colleges they're attending, the technical schools, apprenticeships. We often have students go on and announce their plans to join the workforce, where they're planning to work. And we also have students, usually the greatest applause goes to the students going off to serve in our armed forces. And we usually have several students joining each branch of the military every year, and we have a couple students attending military academies this year as well. So that's sure to be a very energized and exciting event, and not to mention it's a half day before Memorial Day, so it's usually pretty all smiles in there. And I think I've emailed you all as well, but the entire board is invited to attend if you'd like to, and definitely wear your college spirit wear to be in theme with the event, Decision Day. The senior class officers have also organized a new event that we hope will gain traction and grow in the future. So next Wednesday, all graduating seniors are invited to revisit their respective elementary schools. I understand that 2 elementary schools are not standing anymore, so those students were encouraged to find either a friend, a teacher, or a faculty member that they'd like to revisit and choose that as their place for the graduation tour, as we've coined it. We've also been calling it Walk Down Memory Lane, but who's to say which one we're going to stick with? So these elementary schools have been encouraged to create an almost parade-like atmosphere, possibly making signs. Someone's even suggested making little graduation caps out of construction paper. And we think this would be a really great opportunity for our 12th grade students to go back to where it all began, but also for those teachers who've been so far removed for so many years get to see the product of their years of teaching. So we hope right now we have a little over 100 students signed up, so hopefully we can gain a few more by next Wednesday. But I really think it'll be something special to see. And then also opening later in early June, on Sunday, June 9th, Wilson Senior Andrew Thomas, who's actually the student government vice president, and he's sitting in the audience tonight, will be curating an art show in the Grandview Gallery. Every couple months we have a new show open. The one here, I forget what the theme was, but it just opened 2 or 3 weeks ago. But Andrew will be opening a 2-week summer show titled Hidden Gems of Berks County. He's looking for local artists who may be artists on the side, part-time, or just lesser-known artists, and hence Hidden Gems of Berks County. But he wants to include those in this show just because it's something unique to see. It's like drawing, painting. It's a talent that not a lot of people know that so many people are taking part in. Andrew plans to attend Columbia University this fall in New York City with intentions of majoring in art history. So an event like this will definitely help. Hopefully that's the last thing Wilson can give him to springboard into a career in that art world. So definitely good luck to him. And more information about that will be finalized, but tentatively it'll be Sunday, June 9th, 1 to 4. So more information from that you can expect from Ms. Troutman. And then finally, I have to plug this event as usual. My mom's seated in the audience. She's the one that's been tasked to organize this. But the senior cap and gown celebration will be held June 1st, the evening following graduation. We have many more prizes. I know you guys are not able to win them, but we now have Eagles tickets, Ray-Ban sunglasses, AirPods, and many more, as well as large cash prizes. And this event will be truly the one last time for our senior class to gather together, especially here at the high school building. And it's an opportunity to get some cash and prizes that they may need in college. So now for my next part, I'm going to move to the podium, and I'd like to call Carolyn Patorek and Talia Spillerman. It's so weird addressing you guys this way. I feel like I'm going to rant about high taxes or something. But yeah, I know that's usually said for some other people. But so many of you may be wondering why I brought my own gavel and the block tonight, but this is actually addressed for Miss Carolyn Patorek. So I have here Carolyn and Talia. Carolyn and Talia both won their elections to be the 2018-2019 school year's student government president and student government vice president. So both girls have been involved with student government for 4 years as a requirement to be one of these roles, but also they are extremely involved in the sports within our school. I think, Talia, are you still running right now with track? Yeah, okay. Well, it ended last weekend, but it ended on a high. But yeah, they've been involved with student government, Minithon, and many other clubs. They just continue that tradition of being an all-around, really involved group of girls. So I'd like to present Carolyn with this block and gavel.
Thank you.
Not as big as Mr. Wolf's, but definitely it's from like engraveMyGavel.com, so I don't know. But if you'd like to go around and shake their hands, and I'm sure they'll do very well next year. You guys can take a seat. And now onto my third section. But now I'd like to thank you, and now that you've bought my appreciation. But yeah, so I think to explain my appreciation for the Wilson School Board, it must start with my first encounter here in the boardroom. So I think it was in 9th grade. I had to come to a board meeting on behalf of my Boy Scout troop. Yes, I am a Boy Scout, now Eagle Scout, but I wasn't always the happiest to wear the Boy Scout uniform. In fact, I hated to be seen in the Boy Scout uniform. But unfortunately, so I was really hoping that that meeting would be a light one. Unfortunately, it came in the midst of the resignation of Kurt Baker, the announcement of an unscheduled graduation, and a few other minor controversial issues. So the Reading Eagle was very present, and it was not a light board meeting at all. And as I've said, I hated to be seen in that Boy Scout uniform, but somehow I ended up on the cover of the Reading Eagle wearing it. From then on out, my understanding of the board only began to grow, and my activity and participation with it as well. Exposure to the candidates through the highly contested school board election. I got to know board members and see really what they were talking about and why people wanted to be a part of this. The crowded meetings on various issues, whether controversial or simply gaining more time for recess, allowed me to see what was really going on in our school. And ultimately, I would take a seat next to you guys as your student representative. And the knowledge and understanding of how our school operates and the people that are behind that has grown immeasurably since then. Someone said this to me the other day, and I thought it was insane that a person like this would have a quote about a school board, but I find it funny that Mark Twain was once quoted saying, "In the first place, God made idiots. Then that was for practice. Then he made school boards." Honestly, I don't know why one of the greatest American authors of all time would be pondering the existence of school boards, but I honestly don't think too many people would agree with his assertion. But even so, I still think not enough people know about the time and effort that you guys have put in. Just being here at every meeting and seeing the committee meetings you guys have sat in on, the long, often lengthy board meetings that happen before and after each meeting. You truly have dedicated yourselves to the taxpayers, the community members, and the students in a way that you all should be proud of. My mind is boggled listening to the various acronyms. Last week we were learning about the PSERS, and I'm still wondering what that means. I've been intrigued by the massive budgets, Ms. Schlossman, and I've been heartwarmed to see change to come from our discussions at these meetings. But most importantly, I've seen how important a local school board is to the community as a whole. Decisions made at these meetings have immediate effects on the education of myself and my classmates. Many of you are here tonight, and I leave here proud to be a Wilson alumni, proud to have served on this board with you, and my experience at this high school would have not been as full as if it wasn't for this job that was given to me by you guys. So I'd like to thank you all once again and wish Carolyn and Talia good luck next year. So thank you.
We've said it, but I can't imagine somebody doing a better job than you've done. You've really been outstanding. You girls have big shoes to fill next year, so you really did a great job, and we look forward to following your success in your career as you go on through life as well, which I'm sure there'll be a lot of success. That's right. That's right. Thank you again. Mr. Moravich, you want to go over public participation?
This is
board policies and sunshine law. It is a 3-minute opportunity to provide information to the board on matters that may come before it. It is not question and answer, but is opportunity to provide information to the board as a whole on these issues. I have a timer set, and I will let you know when there's 1 minute, and then I'll let you know when time's up, and if you can wrap up when I let you know time's up.
First, we have David Nowicki Jr.
Hello, members of the Wilson School Board. I am David Nowicki Jr., and I'm a student at Wilson West Middle School. I'm here on the behalf of my peers, 74 of whom have signed a petition I have started to inform you that our school start times are not that good. We feel that schools, mostly the high schools, should start no later than 8:30, and this information coming directly from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, or the AASM. The organization said in a position statement, doctors say that starting school earlier in the morning prevents children and teenagers from getting a full night's sleep, which can affect their health, safety, and academic performance. Whilst the argument for later start times isn't new, it is the first time the AASM, a group of scientists with health experts and more than 100,000 members, has taken a stance on this issue. When a child goes through puberty, the brain begins producing the sleep-inducing hormone melatonin at a slower rate, meaning that later in the night, a teenager won't feel as tired, but they will go to bed later, and then they'll want to sleep in. But since school starts at 7:30, teens aren't able to get enough sleep. The consequences can consist of chronic sleep loss, poor school performance, and a higher risk for depressive symptoms, to name a few effects. Delaying the start of school could also reduce car accidents caused by sleepy teens. In one of a 2008 study of the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine, crash rates went down by 16.5% when school started an hour later. One more thing on this matter, a recent study at McGill University and the Douglas Mental Health University Institute in Montreal concluded that children and teens who had a later start time had better mathematical and language grades. To be more specific, researchers have found that a relationship between academic performance and something called sleep efficiency. Ruth Gerber, the lead author of the study, says, for math and languages, we need to use the skill that are called executive functions. Things like working memory, planning, and not being distracted. The hardware that supports those skills is the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is very sensitive to the effects of poor sleep or insufficient sleep. This means that with the insufficient sleep we are already getting, this is affecting us academically. Now, what fixes could we do to this? Well, I got 3 things I thought of. We could hire more buses to take everyone to school at the same time. We could switch the elementary time of the middle school and high school time, so the elementary schools go earlier and then the high schools go later. Or we could start later and have the school days run a little longer into the night. But, it might be a little too much, I don't know. Now, there are a few things that need to consider, like sports and times that people are still staying at school, but I think if we plan this carefully and we think it just right, it could work pretty good. Not to mention, one more thing, schools like Phoenixville are putting this into effect, so it'd be smart to get an early head into the new times and things like that. I thank you for your time, and I do hope you take what I said with consideration. Yeah.
Will be another signature on that. And please add crankiness to the list of possible non-sleep outcomes.
I will add that, thank you.
Emily Cornish.
Good evening. I wanted to express my gratitude earlier, but I was unable to come to the board meeting at the beginning of the month. But I just wanted to say that I am extremely grateful and sincerely appreciative about the delay in outsourcing the childcare program to Right at School, and feel very much relieved to have this off the table for another year. So thank you very much for taking those thoughts of your community members into mine is sincerely appreciated. I also want to just encourage you as you continue to work through solving problems and looking for ways to save money for our community members, that you continue to talk to your current employees, who I'm sure have valuable insight and ideas, and involve them in future conversations as you move forward into the next school year. And I just also want to say thank you for your service. I know this is a payless job, and the rewards are high in other ways, but I know it's a immense volunteering of your time from your families, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, so I just want to take a moment to say thank you for that as well, and just say thanks for a great school year. I have children at the elementary and high school level, and they're doing great, and it's because of teachers and community members and school board and all those things, so I'm hoping it'll just kind of keep rolling as we start the next school year, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other business from the board? Okay, if not, looking for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Hart, thank you. We're adjourned.